Thank you. So the 25 committees, panels, and things, that's over the course of my 31-year career, so it's not currently all 25. And so we're here, we want to share with you what we're doing and have been doing to develop a roadmap for deploying our BIM program. So on the way here, I was reading a book that I've been intending to read for some time. Thomas Friedman wrote several very interesting and thought-provoking books. The one that I'm reading is Thank You for Being Late. And in its first chapter, he talks about in 2007, it was an inflection point for technology, and that's when the iPhone was launched. And I do believe that 2019, as we look back in the future, will be an inflection point for BIM. So why would we choose to embrace BIM and visualization? So here are the reasons. It's clearly a business decision. Our clients are moving in this direction. AASHTO certainly is. Software companies certainly are. So this is the innovation, in my opinion, for what's going on in bridge and road design. And then it is certainly a technology-enabled change. So why innovation? I'm going to back up a little bit on that. So why innovation? Well, these advancements are happening throughout our careers or our personal lives. The pace is accelerating. It's really who we are. It's why we're here at this conference. And back in 2010, that's with Hawaii 5.0 relaunched, and they used augmented reality in their first season to look at data. And I was just fascinated with that. And then, of course, we all remember the 60-minute announcement in 2013 about delivering packages with drones. So looking at innovation in road and bridge design, so when we talk to people about what we're doing, who knew these careers would be so exciting as engineers, as people working in transportation? And then who expected that any video game expertise would be helpful at work? So why innovation and why BIM and visualization? So here's some reasons that we see, and I probably preach and sing to the choir here, why this is important and why it's helping us. It's already happening. It is becoming a have-to-have rather than a nice-to-have. It's really a convergence of several different things happening, and I would say that I really think we're at the beginning of a great expansion with BIM and visualization beyond what we are imagining and doing today. So here's some people that we work with, and so on the left and right, that's the Hololens with augmented reality, something that we were looking at and thinking about even a year and a half ago. And in the middle, that's the Oculus Go, and we are starting to use this on our projects for virtual reality. So just an example of the advanced visualization. So why now? Almost all the DOTs are moving forward in this direction at different paces, different accelerations. But certainly there's been a lot of success in the vertical building construction, and we're using drones for surveys, but also, here's my favorite, you can't do virtual reality with a 2D plan. So how do you start to develop a roadmap for building a program? So not an ad hoc project, but building a program for BIM and visualization. So it's just the classic who, what, when, where, why, how. And anytime you're taking on something new, something major, answering those questions, I think, is really helpful. And which one I think is most important is the why. Why do you do this? Building that business case. And second to that is the who, because getting the champions to set the vision and goals and to help build your program, and what does it look like, that's just critical. So as far as building that business case, just quickly, here's some things to think about. Here are the questions to ask. You build this business case and you take it forward. So this is the point about AASHTO being behind BIM and visualization. At the October AASHTO annual meeting, the board of directors, so these are the state DOT CEOs, were unanimously voted for this resolution. And you can find it online, certainly through the AASHTO website, but those are the resolves. And so it's really two things. Behind IFC, the Industry Foundation Classes Schema, so that software should be, the data should be able to move between the different software platforms when this is all said and done. But also looking at membership and Building Smart International, which oversees IFC. So here's our roadmap. This was the first out-of-the-gate roadmap that we developed. So that's really, like I said, the who, what, when, where, why, how. And so it's the different plans that have the pieces for what we're putting to develop and implement going forward. And so Jamie and I and one other colleague developed this, and it has been the template in the beginning. Here's 10 lists for successes with building these programs. So the first one, I'm not going to read them to you, but begin with that end in mind. Why are you doing this? Where are you going? You'll see champions throughout here, but supporting that champions throughout is really important. And then, again, understand this is just the beginning. I do believe this is going to expand exponentially. And this is, looking back, I was just in the arch, and I didn't realize the construction was so amazing when it was built, because it was based on construction that was just enabled a few years previously. And I just saw the Hyperloop. This is the test vehicle that was run out in California. And then a young man whizzed by me with this electric skateboard. So I believe BIM is the now. There was the past, there's the forward, there's the now. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie.
All right, thank you, Sandra. So this is my icebreaker slide. So I will say that this has been a calculated leap of faith. We are still engineers and designers, and we can't help but plan everything to the furthest point that we can take it. So I know for me personally, I have a personal tendency to have all those small details worked out, strive for that perfection. I also have 4 kids under the age of 10, and I know one of the greatest lessons that they've taught me is to expect the unexpected and to go with the flow. It's also taught me that routines are great, and they establish rhythm to our day. And without that routine, it throws that rhythm off. So also I'll say during the process, I was given a piece of advice that was great is the enemy of the good. So it was great advice at the time because striving for that perfection hindered progress. So we strive now to move forward with good calculated plans that hopefully point towards great things. So through this process, we recognize the future of transportation design, construction and management will rely on BIM, 3D modeling, digital twins, whatever we want to call it in the industry. We also recognize that the movement nationally to redefine project delivery and project execution in this new method. So our main goal with this program is to position our transportation project delivery teams to be trained and supported to successfully deliver projects of all scopes and sizes. So we internally branded this thing called Virtual Model Design and Delivery. We call it VMDD for short. It's a comprehensive 3D design training, support, knowledge management, and development program, hopefully to serve all of our transportation members within Stanley Consultants. So the 4 pillars, and I've seen these 4 pillars in things that I've read over the last year: people, process, policy and initiatives, and technology. So the paradox with those pillars is that each one is exclusive from one another, but yet will directly influence one another as well. So it is that marriage of operations and innovation. This is our kind of our developed plan. Sandra showed our napkin sketch, so to speak. So this is a little bit more formally approach there. So the 4 components to our implementation plan, each one of those sit within those pillars that I identified. Again, one holding no more weight than the other. So the first is our community of practice and our people pillar. The second is our workspace plan and our technology pillar. Third, our training plan development and our process. And lastly, our 3D BIM execution plan and our process and policy pillar. So hopefully the goal is the combination of all these 4 working together in tandem will produce that member development, project and product support, and knowledge management. So there's a small group within Stanley Consultants, 5 members within our transportation market in the roadway and bridge discipline that help guide this group forward. We're all responsible for certain aspects of the group and also all help to support each other as well. So the first part is our community practice. This is our people pillar. A definition of a community practice is this. A community practice is a group of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact on a regular basis. Three components of a COP: domain, community, and practice. So that domain is that area of shared interest and key issues. So for this group in particular, it is that BIM, 3D modeling, and visualization, and it's also centered around the direction of our industry on all levels. The second component is that COP, or the community. Those are the relationships built through that discussion and joint activities by meeting regularly. So in our group, we have two sets of meetings, one for roadway, one for bridge. We do come together at certain points during the year. But hopefully what we're doing is we're forming those professional relationships in each one of our offices, but even more deeper, probably those technical relationships that we all kind of strive for in our day-to-day. The last component is practice. I will say that I think practice is that key word with this. There's that saying, practice makes perfect, right? So success takes time and sustained interaction for this thing to work. It's also sustained application as well. So in my experience, there's this psychology of confidence that goes along with our jobs. So all the best practices that we've created, that we've adopted through the years that we've worked, are often predicated upon failure. So we have to be okay with accepting that failure and being okay to share that with each other as well. So hopefully a community like this enables that to happen, so then we can grow and learn from one another and some of the things that work and some of the things that don't work as well. So to kind of set the stage, Stanley transportation market, we're 10 main transportation offices. We've got roughly 220 transportation members, engineers, designers, technicians, project managers, innovation leads, BD, project delivery, market management, all within the disciplines of construction service, structural, transportation, and traffic and planning. So it is a great challenge to try to bring all these folks together who don't typically interact with one another on a regular basis. So the goal is to establish that community, breaks down silos, connects our offices and our members together with one another. Just knowing that our greatest asset is our people and learning from each other. The next slide is, this kind of represents the COP as a living group. You know, this group will begin and end, but hopefully what happens as this group kind of runs its completion, that it'll give birth to different ideas based on where the industry is going, you know, and other COPs will kind of spin up off of this as well. The first half of this year was spent realizing potential and coalescing. I think we're kind of moving into an active stage at this point. This COP is built by practitioners and importantly supported by management as well. So our meetings typically are tips, tricks, lessons learned, software technical presentations. Those are usually given by our designers and engineers. And then we also have industry direction presentations given by our innovation leads and some management folks. So we're continually engaging the group for content. You know, we want this thing to kind of live and breathe on its own, and everybody kind of building this together. We are also building in other content into these meetings as well, IT minutes. We're doing office showcase minutes to kind of brag about some of the projects that we've got going on. The biggest benefit that I've seen has been identifying, building, and supporting those leaders. So second step is our workspace plan. So development and configuring the tools is important, but it takes some time. The time that it takes, though, pays off because you get an understanding of the software and, you know, some of the good things about it, some of the not so good things about it, where it's clumsy, cumbersome, and broken. So I think the first 2 points on this slide are pretty critical: the acute understanding of the software, how this thing ticks. and then also the ability to test and break. What this also gives us is a platform to develop some best practices on from a company standard. We're able to utilize it for internal training, and then where clients don't typically have a 3D standard, we're able to plug this in and use that on that level. Okay. Next slide. So this is from FHW EDC 3. These are some of the key points that I think all of us may struggle with at certain points. I won't read those. I'll kind of just move past this quick. So our training plan, kind of a three-part process. First was to provide that foundational training. We were trained on Open Roads Designer, Open Bridge Designer, and what that's doing is developing those super users in our transportation offices. You know, those are the local presence, kind of boots on the ground to help support locally as well. Second is leveraging our internal workspace to create those best practice docs, some videos, different modules, and some sample projects. And third, how do we get this out to our members? So we get it out through the CEOP, via by word or within the website that we've got created. We're also pushing it out on ProjectWise as well inside of a managed workspace environment, so then users can consume those as needed. All this kind of fits underneath this knowledge management part of it. So we're using Office 365 to communicate and manage that knowledge. Members can join the group and then get alerts as things are updated. We use a calendar to schedule meetings, both internal and external. We use SharePoint to help organize our training materials and presentation materials. We offer links to helpful websites and news feeds, both internally and externally. So our final step is this 3D BIM execution plan, which sits in our process and policy pillar. So how do we organize and transmit all this data, and how do we perform and share the work more efficiently? So as a 3D model and BIM become integrated into our workflows, there becomes a greater need to formulate and standardize the plan before the actual work begins. So we hope that this 3D BIM execution plan will serve that purpose. This also helps to define that scope as somewhat of a companion document, so you kind of eliminate some scope creep that may happen on projects. So everybody's got a basic understanding of how to approach any given project. So our primary uses for this plan is going to be design coordination, design review, QA/QC processes, our roles and responsibilities, our definitions of level of development, which I think are huge. That can range. Different modelers, engineers, and designers approach modeling maybe a little bit differently, how far they take certain things. So the ability to define that will hopefully help prevent some of those scope issues that we see on projects. Resources needed, both by way of staff and how are we going to train folks up if there is training needed. The software we use, and the design submittal. We all want to be good stewards of data. I think that's kind of a common theme that I've heard. How do we keep this data intact? How do we assure the integrity of this, and how are we sharing this? So those are all important components that we want to try to capture within this document. So keep it super simple. So that was the initial feedback that we received. No one wants clunky forms to fill out. That's going to take too much time. So we want this document to help and not hinder. It needs to be flexible, the ability to change things on the fly, tailor it towards project needs and the folks that are plugged into these projects. So obviously, this document will hopefully be used as a solid communication tool, both internal and external for our project staff, and then for our owners and clients as well. Currently, this is transportation specific, so it is just the disciplines that fall within that market, but I would anticipate future development by other markets and disciplines as well. So future development. So all this communication of development runs through the CEOP. And the interesting thing too, the feedback that we're getting from this CEOP will hopefully help guide program development as well. So some things that are on my mind for next year, we're hoping to enhance the training plan as a full service to the members within Stanley. As needed, user, member, project, all those types of things. We're adding different voices to our meetings. So our ECM group, which is our project-wise guys, we've invited them to share some of the information that they're developing on their end. We're also beginning to research some new cloud-based technology to support training and knowledge management. So closing, I think most people have probably seen this chart, right? What we're achieving for in this BIM approach is that line 4, right, from the traditional line 3. So what we're doing is we're trying to bridge the gap back to save money in the long run with our construction costs. So support is key with this. If management wasn't on board, some of these things would be, I think, almost impossible to try to achieve. So management support has been key with this. Some of the things that's yielded project efficiencies with operations and delivery. We hope that it creates a sense of personal career development and developing that culture of innovation to help support future operations. And last but not least, I think time and patience is of the utmost importance with some of this as well. So thank you.